As we're seeing, hurricanes are becoming more frequent, they're becoming more intense, they're pushing floodwaters and storm surge into places that really aren't used to having that quantity of water. And so we need to think about the things we have on hand that are going to help us get through the damage and the aftermath of hurricanes. I'm Dr. Angela Clendenin. I'm an instructional associate professor at Texas A&M University. So it's things like making sure that if you are not going to evacuate, that you have at least a gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days in your home. That you have enough non-perishable foods in your home for 3 days. And that can be canned foods, things that are shelf stable, but you also need a non-electric can opener because you can't guarantee that you're going to have power. So be thinking about keeping your chargers charged, having extra cables, extra batteries. Use an old-fashioned flashlight, a battery flashlight. A lot of people think they can just use the flashlights on their phones, but that's going to run the battery down on your phone really quickly. So having an old-fashioned battery-operated flashlight. One thing that you can also pick up fairly inexpensively, and they've got lots of models now, are these hand crank radios where you can crank it and it generates a little power. It lets you listen to some basic stations so you can get updates about what's going on in the environment around you. But some of them also have adapters where you can plug your phone in, and so you can crank it and get a little charge and maybe give your phone another 10% juice when you might need it. Also think about having baby wipes. You may not be able to access a full bathroom, and you can kind of wash yourself down with baby wipes. Some non-latex gloves. Some people have latex allergies, but having some kind of gloves, hand sanitizer, a roll of toilet paper, duct tape. A lot of these things, rain ponchos, those thermal blankets that you can get, hot hands, because as we get into November, sometimes that water can get really cold. These are things that you can put in a plastic box and just put it inside a closet so that if you do need them, you know where to go and you can grab it. Also, if you're going to evacuate and if you're going to stay home, find a plastic bag that you can seal important documents in. Things like a copy of a passport or your actual passport, a copy of your driver's license. If you have pets, it's really important that you have a photo of you with your pets, as long as with a veterinary record, in case you get separated from your pet. This shows proof of ownership if your pet should be found later. Making sure your pets are microchipped would be helpful in that aspect as well. And also any other types of important documents for, insurance documents, medical documents. Ask your physicians for copies of your prescriptions because you may need to get them refilled in another community. Okay, so one of the big concerns that people have, especially after a hurricane or maybe even a winter storm where there's a power outage, is what to do with all of your perishable food. And it's really important that you minimize opening and closing your refrigerators and your freezers to as few times as possible. Most of your perishable items in your refrigerator are only going to be good for about 4 hours after a power outage, or as long as the temperature stays below 40 degrees, it should be okay. But once it gets above 40 degrees, that's where things can go wrong with the perishable items in your fridge. For your freezer, if you've minimized the number of times you're opening it or closing it, most of your frozen foods, they kind of feed off of each other, and that can be for about 48 hours before you need to throw things away. But some things that you can do is if you have ice packs or an ice maker in your freezer, get a cooler and put ice in there, and that can help extend a little bit longer. So a lot of times people wonder, how can you keep clean, and even so much as flushing a toilet if the water systems aren't working or you don't have access to clean water after a disaster. And there's a few things you can do. If you know that something is imminent and about to happen, fill up all of your bathtubs with water and just keep that water there to use. It's not going to be potable water that you can drink, but you can use it to wash hands. You can use it to wipe things down, and more importantly, you can use it to flush the toilet. And the way that you do that is you take the lid off of your tank, the back of the toilet, and that's where you add the water in. And then most toilets are not tied into electricity. They don't require electricity to flush, and then that water will be flushable. And it won't necessarily fill back up again, but as long as you have that tub of water, you can always put more in the tank to flush the toilet. One of the things about disasters, whether again it's a hurricane or a flood or any other kind of disaster, is that sense of loss, that sense of needing something purpose to connect to, or what's going to happen next, the uncertainty of the coming days. And that can be really stressful. And when you're kind of connected with all of your family and they're all stressed too, it can just amplify. So it's really important to pay attention to your mental health as well as the mental health of your family. It's a lot like being on an airplane. You need to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of others. Particularly if you have small children, they're very perceptive and they can pick up on when things aren't right with mom and dad or with grandma and grandpa. And so it's finding things that you can do as a family. Again, going back to things that you can pack, whether you're going to evacuate or not. A deck of cards, playing a card game or a board game, or having books that can be read when the light's out and things like that are really important. Coloring books are great for kids, so keeping a couple of packs of colors and some activity books just to have on hand are very helpful. Encouraging your children to talk about it. Their feelings, and being able to document those feelings and kind of giving them an opportunity to express that they're scared and that that's okay. I think all of that can kind of go a long way. But again, it's about the things that give you comfort as well. If reading a book at the end of the day is what helps you unwind after a long day of work, make sure you have a book or something you can take with you. If you like to draw, if you like to journal, taking those things kind of gives you a sense of normalcy again. It's like, oh yeah, I do this every night, and then it kind of takes away a lot of the stress.